Welcome to Inland Empire Alive, bringing you issues, events, and perspectives from throughout San Bernardino and Riverside counties. I'm David Brady, and on today's show you'll meet Chris Watson, Director of Animal Services for the City of San Bernardino, to talk about issues impacting pets, strays, and municipal shelters. That's today on Inland Empire Alive. Well, it's always fun to welcome my next guest, Chris Watson, the Director of the City of San Bernardino's Animal Services Department. Chris, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So let's talk about kind of the state of the city's animal services right now. You are overflowing with dogs, I understand?
Yes, we're over capacity and have been over capacity since 2022. We've seen intakes go up about 25% this year for dogs, particularly large breed dogs. We have 130 dog kennels, and when I was at the shelter earlier, we have 215 dogs. Wow. And that's down. Earlier this week, we had 260.
Is there something that explains that influx?
It's kind of a multifaceted issue that's not just affecting us, it's affecting the entire nation, but it's particularly bad here in Southern California. The housing crisis is one piece of it. A lot of people who are losing their homes or having to move in with family members unfortunately can't take their pets with them, and so they wind up at the shelter. It's also a lack of vet services in our community, specifically spay-neuter. And so most of the pets that we get are not altered, and there's a lot of oops litters. And there's only one low-cost vet in our region, and that's the Humane Society, and they're booked out several months. So, and that results in the larger number of animals coming in, large breed dogs in particular, and unfortunately, they're all winding up at the animal shelter like ours.
Well, talk to me about how people can help, because even when you're over capacity, people can actually take dogs home, and they're not committing to adopting that dog necessarily.
No, obviously we'd love to have permanent adoptions and permanent placements, but one of the ways community can help us is through fostering. It's extremely rewarding. It's good for the people and the pet, and it doesn't have to be, I know traditional fostering is underage kittens or puppies or a medical issue. We're open to letting any of our animals that are currently available for adoption out to a foster, even if it's just for a week or two. So opening up your home to an animal in need is the perfect way to help us out.
Talk to me about how that benefits the animal.
Yes.
It's not like checking out a library book.
It's not.
There are responsibilities.
Yes,
that go along
there
with
are responsibilities. Most of the time animals come into our shelter, they can't tell us about their history. They can't sit down and say, well, I was here and I know this. And in the shelter, it can be really stressful, especially when you have a lot of animals, everybody's barking. And so we're not quite sure, what this animal's personality is really like. Are they potty trained? Do they know how to sit? What are they like in a home environment? And so even just taking an animal out to foster for the weekend, like a large breed dog that's 2 years old, we learn so much. We learn, oh my gosh, it's potty trained. We didn't know.
Or it doesn't like loud noises.
Exactly.
It hides under a blanket.
Exactly. All of those little pieces of that animal's personality help us make that permanent placement. It also helps the animal decompress. Shelters can be stressful. Like I said, it's a lot of loud noises. A lot of animals don't like that. Being in a home, being someplace where they feel safe and protected even for a few days, helps them to decompress and relax. And that's one of those pieces that's really crucial. Nobody, including animals, they're not meant to live long term in a concrete kennel that's like 6 feet by 4 feet. And so getting into a home environment with people who are caring for them is crucial, and it helps. We see so many things happen with that animal, and the person will share their pictures and videos on social media, and that winds up in adoptions, because even though that person may not be looking for a permanent placement, somebody in their network is, and they see this animal and they see it in a completely different light. I mean, we've had fosters come in and bring in their pets, and they're in costume and everything like that, and somebody sees, that's the kind of dog I've been looking for. And that animal gets home without having to stay at the shelter and be in a cage.
How do you talk people over that resistance to, oh, it's going to break my heart to foster because I'll have to let them go? I have been fostering since April. And I can tell you that I wrestled with that,
Yes.
and I have cried when
Yes.
I've, but I realized that I'm doing something better for this animal in the long run. I'm making this animal a better pet for
Yes.
a hypothetical family that's out there somewhere. So it is tough, but how do you kind of talk people through that? Oh, I could never do that because
Yeah.
it would just break my heart every time.
That's the key. It's not just this animal. You're able to help a lot of animals. Yes, we want you to care for the animal like you would your own animal, but knowing that you're getting it through that bridge into a permanent lifetime where you get to see that animal grow and develop, especially if it's one of your friends. I know I've had fosters that some of my friends have seen and they've adopted, and I get to see their pictures. And we offer that, like we'll talk to the next adopter, are you willing to share updates and stuff? But there's always going to be one more, right? So once this animal goes to its forever home, there's going to be another animal that needs your help. And so it's focusing on your ability to not just impact one animal, but how many are you able to help over a period of time.
It's interesting because I've found that I'm actually a better pet owner as a result of fostering. I have 3 permanent cats. I don't know what to call them. Permanent cats, my usual cats, my regular cats. And I've gotten so much smarter about understanding their behavior and what they like and what they don't like,
Yes.
what they are reacting to. And so just having those new cats come into my house is teaching me so much about their behavior. And I think about a cat I owned 30 years ago, and I know so much more.
Yeah.
I'm just such a better, more compassionate, empathetic, understanding pet owner as a result.
Yes, and I think that's true for most of animal welfare. We've grown and learned so much, even just over the past 10 years. And we're talking to our foster parents and adopters about body language, because people aren't so good at reading body language. Pets are experts at it. And so
I can smell fear.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So so learning that, you kind of, your pet may not exhibit all of this range of behaviors that, but other pets come in and like, oh, maybe my animal meant this, or maybe,
Well, you think you've mastered one
Yeah.
kitten and then your next one and you're starting all over. Oh, okay.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's an opportunity for us to learn more about the animals and ourselves too. I think of all of the animals that have like, oh, I don't think I could handle an animal like that. And then you wind up learning that, oh, I can. Like, I just need to switch my perspective
why
a little bit.
There's a reason for everything it does.
Exactly.
Even if it's shredding your couch,
Yes.
there is a reason it is doing that. And it is
Exactly.
doing it because it is instinct. It
Yes.
is its natural behavior.
Yeah.
You talked about this a little bit earlier, but tell me a little bit about the community cats and
Yes.
the shift that shelters and animal services departments have made nationwide over the past couple of
Yes.
years. It's a big change, and a lot of people aren't
is.
aware of it.
Yeah, so we no longer impound stray healthy cats. And the reason for that
And that's an important distinction. Stray,
is.
healthy
Yes,
cats.
definitely. So cats are free roaming. There's no requirement for people to keep them inside their homes, although we do recommend that.
Sure.
and
Coyotes and
exactly.
weather and
Yeah, cats are very smart. I mean, they domesticated themselves about 10,000 years ago because they realized there was a benefit to the partnership
yeah.
between humans and
They've
themselves.
got me totally tied around.
Yeah, they're very good at that. And cats, especially healthy ones in communities, yes, they may have one owner, but then they have a whole bunch of friends they
Oh,
want
they have no
visiting,
loyalty. Yeah,
right?
they may have an owner, but they'll go wherever they're.
Yeah.
They'll feed me.
Right. If you're going to feed me and give me a comfortable place to sleep, then you're my friend. And so, previously people were worried about the animals. They brought them to the shelter because, well, this cat just showed up at my house,
It's walking
and
around
I'm
the
worried
neighborhood.
about
Clearly, it has no home.
Right. It needs a home, and shelters took them. But what we found out is that only cats who come to the shelter, only 3% of them are returned back to their owner. And that's unfortunate, right? Because cat owners, because of their nature, may not look for their cat until a few days after they're missing. And you see it all the time on social media. My cat's gone, and then, oh, my cat came back. And so taking them to the shelter does them a disservice. It's stressful for cats in particular. They're confined to a small cage, which is totally against their nature, and they wind up getting sick. So the shelter spends a lot of time caring for them, making sure they're okay, and then going out for adoption, where they already had a family and a home where they were happy. the studies have shown that cats that are left in their home environments are 66% of those get back to their home. And so that's a huge difference, 3% and 66%. And so we stopped impounding them. We try and educate the public. This is why. If they're healthy, they're eating, somebody's taking care of them. Talk to your neighbors and find out.
See their ribs. I mean,
exactly.
They're doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing okay.
So, I mean, it's not this model that everybody remembers from cartoons where it's the dog catcher and the net catching every loose animal.
No.
And they all end up in this bedlam. And
Yeah, we want to help support animals where they're healthiest and happiest. And with cats, that's in their own environment. Now, we are working on expanding our ability to offer spay-neuter services because we don't want a whole bunch of kittens that byproduct of intact animals running around. But ultimately, most of these animals really are owned. It might be the person down the street who puts food out for them. And with cats, there's a whole range of sociability, from ones who will sit on your lap and greet you when you get home, to others that are what we call feral and have never been socialized, don't want to stay in contact with humans, and only come out occasionally. And so those animals, we really don't want them at the shelter because it's extremely stressful for them and we can't adopt them out. So, and those are the ones that we would alter and put back, especially if they're healthy. The alternative for us, and this means that the community is helping out, right? Cats love people, people love cats. I don't know if you've seen on social media, they're talking about the cat distribution system on TikTok.
No.
And so,
But now I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Right? Look it up. It's hilarious. But there's this thing where, a kitten just found me and came after me, and now I have a cat. So we know people care for cats. We want to help support them. The shelter is here to help them with that. We offer food, we offer resources, and eventually, when we have the capacity for it, we want to start offering spay-neuter for cats in the community. But
before I let you go, there's a very important piece of legislation that is pending. Talk to me about the Supporting Our Shelters Act. It was just introduced by our own representative, Pete Aguilar. Tell me what it would mean for shelters across the country.
It would mean additional funding. And so shelters, unlike other public entities, there isn't a regular source of federal funding for what we do.
So people may think, my tax dollars are paying for all of that, and that's not really the case.
No, it's local jurisdictions, cities, counties, which have fewer funds, and so they can't necessarily apply for grant funding through the federal or state to support their animal shelters. You think about during COVID, a lot of grants and funding were available to municipalities for infrastructure or for parks or everything else. Animal shelters were not part of that, even though we're part of the community benefit, and are important. This act would change that and give us the opportunity to apply for federal funding. Animals are important for health and welfare of the entire community. We know that there's a huge connection between animals and human health, and there are a lot of benefits. And so the shelter is the place where we house those animals and help the community with their needs. And to be able to have another source of funding to support our initiatives is huge. And I know a lot of shelters like ours are shifting from the model where we're just going to take in animals and house them. We're offering community pet food pantries to help support the community. We're looking at how we can provide low-cost spay-neuter and veterinary services to the community, because that's a need, so that we can help them keep their pets.
So write your congressman.
Yes, yes, please.
Let your legislator know. Please support it. It's called the Supporting Our Shelters Act. It was just introduced. Chris Watson, thank you so much.
My
it's
pleasure.
Lovely to have you here. I want to have you back anytime to talk animals and cats. And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.